And we are live. It's Dr. J here in the house. Today, we're going to be talking about, is your thyroid causing you to gain weight? We're going to look at some of the underlying cellular mechanisms and what you can do about it. So first off, my Thyroid Reboot book is out this week. We got a discount sale out of the gate. So if you want to pick it up, then my life's work the last 5 to 8 years or so, thyroidreboot.com. We'll link you over to Amazon. So thyroidreboot.com. There'll be a link down below. Click it and support me. I appreciate it very much. Plus, all these concepts that I'm talking about here today and more will all be in that book. Lots of pictures, easy to understand, try to make it actionable and simple. Again, the thyroid and hormones can be a difficult topic. I want to make it simple, right? If you can't take action, what good is it? All right, so out of the gate, let's kind of dive in. So first off, when we have low thyroid, I call the thyroid like the thermostat of the body, right? It's going to control temperature. It's going to control metabolism. Metabolism is nothing more than chemical reactions in the body. And the more chemical reactions you have, the more heat, the more energy you create. And then energy and heat tend to correlate with feeling good. And again, if we are generating heat, you're burning calories, you're burning nutrition coming in. So it has a lot to do with energy balance. And if we are low in energy, low in our metabolism, that also can drive fat storage because if we're not burning it, where's it going, right? And we know there's a couple of correlations here. I want to dive in to make sense of it all. First study here I wanted to highlight, why can insulin resistance be a natural consequence of thyroid dysfunction? So first off, insulin is the major fat storage hormone. It goes in, it takes carbohydrate, it shunts it out of the bloodstream into the cells. It can put it into muscle cell and store it as carbohydrate. It can put it in the liver and store it as glycogen. Once your muscle starts to get saturated, it goes to the liver. Once the liver starts to get saturated, it starts to create more insulin resistance. So you need more insulin to get the same amount of glucose into the cell or fructose. And it also can create a non-alcoholic fatty liver. So the more we stuff that liver full of glycogen, the more enzymes we start to increase in the liver that break it down. That's a sign of breakdown. So you can see the Junose kinase 1 enzyme, the junk enzymes. You can just see an increase in ALT and AST and GGT, which are a sign of liver breakdown. And it's also a sign of non-alcoholic steatotic hepatitis, NASH, if you will, and also a sign of just insulin resistance. And so the more that happens, it weakens your metabolism. Why can insulin resistance be a natural consequence of thyroid dysfunction? So here's the issue. I would go back and forth, say insulin can cause low thyroid, but also low thyroid can cause insulin. In this article, it's talking about thyroid driving insulin problems. A lot of it having to do with energy, right? The more you can energetically clear out the glucose in your bloodstream, what does that do? That means there's less glucose that has to be stored, right? If you whatever you don't burn, it gets stored. So the energy is higher, you burn more of the glucose there, less you have to put in. So if you have more in there, guess what? Your insulin has to do more work. So if there's more in there, that means there's more likely to be receptor site downregulation, meaning you need more insulin to get the same cells to open up. And more insulin means consequences. It means vascular inflammation. It means higher blood pressure. It means stress on the kidneys. It means more fat cells are primed to store fat. Why? Because insulin is a lipogenic hormone. Lipo meaning fat, genic meaning to create. When insulin is high, it's very difficult to open the fat cell up and to burn it. Why? Because we need lipolytic enzymes to break down the fat in the cell. So we have lipogenic versus lipolytic, right? Imagine this seesaw. Lipogenic enzymes, insulin, and then we have lipolytic enzymes. Think of hormone-sensitive lipase, HSL. And we need low insulin environment for increase in lipolytic enzymes. And we need a low insulin environment to start to make ketones. So we need that seesaw to work. So we have to bring that insulin down. So read the article here. Evidence for relationship between T4, T3, and glucose metabolism appeared over 100 years ago when the influence of thyroid hormone excess in the deterioration of glucose metabolism was first noticed. Since then, it has been known that hyperthyroidism is associated with with insulin. This is most recently, hypothyroidism has been linked to decrease in insulin sensitivity. So that means you need more insulin to get the job done. So more recently, hypothyroid has been linked to a decrease in insulin sensitivity. That means you need more insulin to get the glucose into your cells. The explanation to this appears a paradox and may lie in the differential effects of thyroid hormone at the liver and the peripheral tissues. And I think it just comes down to the fact that the more, thyroid hormone impacts the cells. And so the higher metabolism you have in the cell, you can just burn it up because your cell's already burning hot. It's already utilizing the fuel. The more that drops, the more that energy drops. It's like putting coal into or putting, let's say, the wood burning fireplace, right? If your wood burning fireplace is already at maximum temperature, the rate at which it's going to take on wood is much higher versus if you put it in cold, it's going to take time to heat up. And then the rate at which it's burning wood is going to be much, much slower. I think it's the same thing. It's just a pretty crude analogy, but I think it rings true. The purpose of this paper is to explore the effects of thyroid hormone to glucose metabolism and analyze the mechanisms. I think that's the big mechanism here I wanted to highlight. The blood sugar and the production and consumption of glucose are kept within normal bounds. Therefore, there is an equilibrium between glands of adrenal secretions, which reduce the blood sugar, the pancreas, and which raise it. Yeah, thyroid hormones exert both insulin agonist and antagonist actions at different organs, right? I think it's just going to come down to increasing metabolism, increasing energy, higher energy, more we burn up glucose, the more we burn the glucose up, the less glucose we have to worry about. Next thing I want to highlight here out of the gate, this is important, the association between adult weight gain and insulin resistance at middle age. So just basically talking about the more insulin resistant you are, the more you're likely to gain weight. And the other article over here, really simple, talked about the fact that thyroid issues can drive insulin problems. So just trying to make that correlation hit home here for you guys. But pretty simple. We examine the association between weight gain and insulin resistance with a linear regression, adjusted confounding factors. We additionally adjusted for total fat, visceral fat, and liver fat. And then it says right here that we had homeostatic model of insulin resistance was 3.22 times higher in weight maintainers. And the joint model total body fat mediated the association for 8.1. And right here, the association between adult weight gain and insulin resistance at middle age is largely mediated by both visceral and liver fat. These are the worst, right? Liver fat means non-alcoholic fatty liver. That means systemic insulin resistance. And your visceral fat, this is going to be the fat around the abdomen, around the organs. That's going to be the fat that's the sign of the most insulin resistance. All right. So very important out of the gates, guys. When we see that kind of fat, that tells us that our cells are becoming numb to insulin. Thyroid hormone plays a major role in that. Now, I'd also say as you age too, you also make less growth hormone. If you're a female, as you get older and you start moving into perimenopause and you stop having the hormonal output, that can make you more insulin resistant. And as a man, if you have lower testosterone and you're aromatizing more, because remember, insulin makes testosterone drop. It aromatizes T to E, testosterone to estrogen. So as we have more insulin and we drop our T, guess what? There's an association between lower testosterone and insulin resistance. And if we type in insulin resistance and thyroid, like I mentioned earlier, that article talked about thyroid or insulin drive or thyroid, low thyroid driving insulin problems. You can find articles talking about insulin driving low thyroid problems too. So I think as the horse wag the tail, the dog wag the right. It doesn't matter, right? I think both the dog can wag the tail and the tail can wag the dog. I think both can happen. And in some people, you may see that happen in different orders too. That's why physiology is so interesting. We try to fix both sides of the coin because we don't know which one is the driving factor. And then also stress hormones play a big role because you dump a lot of glucose and sugar into your bloodstream when you're stressed. People are like, well, I'm eating this really good diet. I'm like keto, I'm carnivore, whatever, I'm paleo. But you could be dumping in a soda's worth of glucose because you are so stressed. And because that glucose is being dumped in, you're not eating it, but your stress hormones are mobilizing it. So what do you do with it? What's your body going to do with it? It still has to either burn it up or it has to store it and clear it. So just want to get you guys thinking about that out of the gates. Hormones play a major important role when it comes to energy balance, when it comes to putting on muscle, when it comes to storing fat. And if you have a very low thyroid, let's say you have Hashimoto's, let's say you have an autoimmune issue and your thyroid's been beaten up and you're trying to lose weight, it's going to be very difficult if you're already in that bottom 20, 10% in regards to hormone production. If your TSH is already high, if you're already inflamed, it's going to be hard to eat your way out of that. Don't get me wrong. You can make a big difference with your diet. If your diet was really crummy and now it's much better and you increase the nutrient density and you really focus on the good high quality proteins and fats, it can definitely help. But if that gland has been attacked for years and decades, you may need supplemental hormone support to actually get you above that level where you can handle and get that weight down. So I hope that makes sense, guys. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. Love to see your comments below. Again, pick up the book, thyroidreboot.com. And if you want to dive in, if you want that functional medicine support, My team and I see patients worldwide. So if you want that support, we can order labs and get protocols created and get patients supported and on the right track. Link down below to reach out to myself and team. All right, guys, have an awesome day. Let me know what you think. Love to see the comments below. Take care.